Our next guest is something a little bit different from normal. Her knowledge on all things nutrition is insane. She is a social media guru. Funny as they come, as well as dropping insightful knowledge bombs. Not afraid to speak her mind on the pertinent subjects. Steph from Food is Life Nutrition is joining us on 4,000 and Counting. Steph, thanks for joining.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
I can't wait for this one. It's fun. Our second kind of fitness related guest, I was saying off air to you there, we've had Phil Lerney on the show and now yourself. It's something different for our listeners. We're obviously primarily ice hockey, which means athletes, which means nutrition and training, etc. And for anybody that doesn't know, real quick, your social media is funny. So give everyone your Instagram handle so they can get a little follow going.
My Instagram is @foodislife.nutrition. Definitely, I do agree. Worth a follow.
Well, you don't take it too seriously, but you actually put some serious information out, which I think is quite it makes it easier for people just to pick up on. You might even be doing it in a bit of a jokey, take it a piss way, but actually you walk away and that knowledge stays in your brain. So
yeah,
it's a successful way of doing it. It works for me.
Good. Yeah, I like to keep it real because I think there's so many people, and you probably agree, in the fitness world that try and put this perfectionism and this perfect person out online, but none of us are perfect, and perfect's boring anyway, right? So
very boring. Very boring. We're gonna definitely touch on that later because we're discussing off air what we're going to talk about today, and there's definitely going to be some points that trigger a few people, which will make for interested in listening. But I want to kick off with your background. Obviously, we know that you do nutrition, but you obviously do a bit of tennis as well. So what's your sporting background, nutrition background, getting to this point?
Yeah, so I, long story cut short, obtained a tennis scholarship to a university in the USA. So I studied my undergraduate degree whilst playing tennis full time for 4 years over in Colorado. So I then came back. I retired at the grand old age of 21 from tennis.
What's that? Knees and hips or what?
No, I was just done, just emotionally done. I really was. It was a long slog. I wouldn't change it for the world, but you know, I always played tennis to get there, to get to the States. And I was like, yeah, after that, I'm going to let the ball bounce twice. Don't need this anymore.
Okay, that's fair enough. We see that with athletes a lot. Like they've just been doing it for so long. And yeah, your tennis training hours. I went to IMG Academy in Florida to play ice hockey. Obviously, they've got the big tennis academy there. When I was there, Maria Sharapova was there training with the Williams sisters. Other people went through it, but the hours they would put in was ridiculous. They were on the court 6-8 hours a day every day.
Yeah, I mean, don't put me in with Sharapova and Williams. That would be nice. But yeah, it was. I mean, any full-time athlete, like people listening to this podcast will know, like any athlete, it's hard work. It's not easy. And then having the pressure of almost like being paid to do it makes it just that much more intense, I suppose. But I mean, as I say, wouldn't change it for the world, but I was definitely done once I was done, once I graduated.
What was it? Was that when like the love of the nutrition side started really kicking on?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I came back from the States and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. My degree was in sports science. And then I stopped training so much. So obviously, like, as you say, when I was in the States, I was training like 5-6 times a week. Then we'd have matches on the weekend and, you know, it's just nonstop. I came back to the UK. I was going to the gym 3 times a week. I'd sorted my nutrition out. Like I just wasn't eating like obviously massive amounts. I think I lost around a stone. And then I started looking into more of the nutrition side of things because the human body had always interested me. And I was like, geez, I just kept reading about it. I said to my mum one day, I was like, oh, I might just go and do a nutrition course, like an online thing. And she was like, why don't you just go and do a master's? And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Minefield.
Yeah. So there I was a year later, I think it was. I was doing my master's degree in sport and exercise nutrition. So I then did that. That took a year. And then that's when I set up Food is Life. So I was always going to go into the field, or I wanted to go into the field of sports and athletes and that kind of thing. But it transpired that I started working in a gym doing like nutrition consultations and stuff. And then it's now turned into 5 years later, my speciality is I work with some athletes, but I work mostly with weight loss, health, nutrition side of things.
Stopping people yo-yoing.
Yeah, any yo-yo dieter, come at me. I got you.
Do it. Do it.
So yeah, that's kind of my background.
It'll change your life beyond recognition. Stopping the yo-yo.
Seriously.
But just, I think once you stop the yo-yo, you get a better understanding of where you're at and where your body's at and what you need it to do and what works and what doesn't. If you constantly yo-yo, you're never going to know how you're going to perform better. You never know, okay, this is great for my fat loss. If I eat this much, I'm eating far too much. I'm gaining fat quite quickly. You're never going to know if you're constantly just...
Yeah, and so many people that I work with are just not in tune with their body and listening to their body because they've been on so many diets. They've listened to so many people and given different advice on different foods and loads of things. And it's people are just like, they're just in a very dark tunnel. They don't know where to turn. That's a lot of people.
Pizza, that's where I turn.
Are you a pineapple on pizza?
Not until recently, but so veggie. So if there's leftover pizza, it's not from my side of the pizza, so it's definitely going to be from her side, and that comes with pineapple. And you know what? I can deal with pineapple on pizza.
So can I.
I wouldn't put it on, but if it's on there, yeah.
Okay, I like it.
I tell you what is nice. I say I wouldn't put it on. I did. I made some homemade pizzas last year, and I char-grilled some pineapple on a barbecue and then put it on, and that was very good.
I like that. Yeah,
it was good. It's also very good mixed up in a mojito. Just
there we go.
Pineapple frozen mojitos, low calorie as well, really, because if you're doing rum, soda water, ice, and pineapple chunks, a double rum's like 130 calories, nothing in the ice, a little bit in the pineapple. Cheeky little drink tip there for you. There's under 150 calories.
There's some good nutrition advice for the listeners right there. We can probably end there. We're good.
You know what though? It is, because if you're a pint drinker, well, there's 220 calories and you just swap that. There's 70 calories. People don't understand. It's just these all we're looking for in our industry, little wins. Take a little. I don't want to take all of your food off you because that's fucking miserable. Yeah. Like, who wants to do that? Like, a little bit, swapping something that's 220 calories for something that's 150. You do a few of them over your diet over the week, and the numbers add up.
Yeah, and then even in the sense of if you're going for a night out, if you're drinking pints compared to if you're drinking G&Ts, slimline G&Ts, you can have technically more drinks, bang for your buck, enjoy yourself without going over your calorie intake. Perfect.
Right, okay, calorie intake. That should take us on to the first point we actually want to talk about. It's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on, because you did a little post about it and I'd love to pick your brain on it. So Boris and his crew and his cronies are to reward families who take calorie cutting more seriously as of January in the most fucking typically dieter thing. It's like almost going, yeah, we'll start on Monday from January. Why not from now? So for those that haven't seen it, Boris has announced a new government scheme trying to target families to basically bring their overall calorie intake down and to get them moving more, get reward points, which kind of seems a bit like barbaric and Chinese, but I'm sure we'll touch on that. What do you make of the whole premise?
I think, to be honest, to put it bluntly, it's another short-term fix. Is it going to work long-term? Is it changing your habits? Is it going to educate you on, like we were talking about earlier, listening to your body, how many calories you should be consuming, what you need to eat on a daily basis? No, you're just basically going to not eat for 2-3 months, take the money, and then go back to your old eating habits and, Bob's your uncle.
The way I see it, like, if you were walking to work perhaps more in lockdown or walking the kids to school in lockdown and you've stopped doing that now that you've been let out, that's a bad habit to pick up, because you were in that zone of doing the good thing and then you've gone straight back to reverting back to type. And this is probably the same thing with the yo-yo diet, and same with anybody who struggles with maybe fat loss or maintaining discipline to go and fulfill a program 4 days a week, or they've said they're going to swim a mile a week and they do it for the first week, and then the second week it's kind of half a mile, and then the third week they just don't fucking go anymore. It's kind of like that. I don't see it being a long-term fix. Yeah.
And the other thing, when I put it out on my Instagram, I didn't actually say, but another thing is like the intrinsic versus the extrinsic reward. So doing it extrinsically for a bit of money, what motivation do you have? Well, does that motivation continue long term? If you do it intrinsically for yourself, for your health, for your well-being, for your energy levels, to help you, you know, lose weight, to help you sleep and train better and exercise better, recover better, those, like, even just saying that out loud, it just makes sense that it's like, well, obviously, like, it's.
I'd love to see people actually doing this for the reasons that you said. Do it for the health. Do it for the. I think more so with parents as well. When you see unhealthy parents, I saw a woman yesterday in the car park who was too fat to turn the steering wheel in her car. She had 2 kids in the back of that car. What is their lifestyle going to be like? I can guarantee what their lifestyle is going to be like. Mum's not going to want to take them to sport because she's not going to want to go anywhere. She's going to be turkey dinosaurs and fucking frozen chicken nuggets five days a week, and then Burger King, McDonald's and Subway on the weekend because you can't be asked to cook because it's the weekend. So that makes a big difference. What do we do to people how do we help people like this overcome these bad habits? Because Boris's plan's not the right one.
No, I think that is obviously the $1 million question, but ladies in that scenario, or any humans in those scenarios, someone that's too big, doesn't like their body size, they're not like that because they want to be that size. They've probably, in most cases, or most cases that people that I've worked with, they've tried to lose weight. They've tried probably every diet under the sun. They don't know where to turn. They're lost, stuck. They have basically just given up hope, because they've tried, they failed, they've tried, they failed, they've tried, they failed. It goes back to that yo-yo diet and a cycle of, look, I am really motivated on day one. By the time, as you say, it even gets to the weekend, you don't want to cook anymore. You are on a low carb diet and suddenly you realize that you can't go to McDonald's, or you can't eat any or drink any alcohol or whatever. So you're like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, that sounds shit.
Yeah, so it's a tough one, because we just need more people in our industry and further and above this industry, going even as far to Boris and his cronies, is letting people know that actually it's not going to be a quick fix. It does take hard work. It does take consistency. You might only lose a pound a week. You might lose 2 pounds or 3 pounds in 1 week, but you're not going to lose a stone in a week. And it's not going to keep coming off just because you've had a good day or you've had a good couple of days. It's got to be consistent over a long period of time. You haven't put this weight on overnight.
So one of my clients, probably the biggest fat loss in the space of 12 months, Jack Payne, he went from 145 kilos to 99 kilos in the space of, let's say it took the full 12 months. I think it was actually probably just a little bit less than that. Going back to what you said there, a pound a week, that's 52 pounds in a year. So if you've got a chunk of weight to lose, if you lose 52 pounds in a year, everybody's going to notice. Like, you are going to be a new human being if you take that amount of body fat. Now, Jack almost doubled that by about 100 and something pounds. Mm. Your life changes instantaneously for the better. Yeah. Your health, your just even stupid shit, your fingernails, your skin, your hair, like stuff that you're probably not taking into consideration. Yeah, you're probably thinking my abs look a bit better as well, like carrying 100 pounds less. But your lungs, just literally everything. I can't explain how important it is.
Yeah, and I work with a lot of people that have a lot of weight to lose, and it's, for me as a coach, it's managing their expectations, because they're an individual that has lots of weight to lose. They lose maybe a pound or 2 a week and they get upset with that. But what you have to say to them, like you're saying, is you've got to look at what you've achieved in these last 3 months. Look at what you are going to achieve in these next 3 months. You've got to break it down. You can't just look at, right, this is where I am, this is where I want to be. It's going to take me 2 years to get there. Yeah, it might, but you're going to be a different person in 3 months' time if you keep doing what you're doing.
Right, you touched on a second ago about low carb diets. I wanted to go back to the athlete kind of thing. Obviously, Hockey players requires a shit ton of energy. Obviously, you're training pretty much 4 days a week, and then you're playing 2 games at the weekend, maybe a game on a Wednesday night as well. The recovery is hard. What would you say to people that are perhaps on a low carb or no carb diet whilst competing?
So this is one of my big passionate subjects for both sports nutrition for athletes and for weight loss people, is carbohydrates are, so you've got 3 macros. You've got
great.
yeah,
Great.
They are fantastic. So you've got 3 macronutrients, you've got protein, you've got fats, you've got carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the preferred fuel source for the brain and the body. There's been so much research done about this over the years, because you'll get some athletes that are like, well, if I can use fats and utilize dietary fats as my main fuel source, will it be able to last longer because I've got more, I can store more dietary fats in my body? The answer is still no, because carbohydrates, you can utilize that as energy efficiently, the most efficient over any macronutrient ever. So yes, do you need carbohydrates in your diet, not just to be a fabulous human being, but also to be the best athlete that you can be, 150%. There's no arguments about it. And as an athlete, if you are on a low carb diet, not only is your performance going to be affected, but it's going to impact your recovery. It's going to impact your focus on when you're on the ice or whatever sport you're playing, when afterwards, when you're not motivated to get to the gym because you haven't recovered well, or it's life's harder without carbohydrates. That's the brutal bottom line.
Definitely in sport it is. I mean, I've tried the high fats. It worked well for a brief period for me, but it's not sustainable long term. You definitely don't have that same compete, I don't think. I think the brain's maybe a little bit foggier, if anything. So your concentration levels are maybe not quite what they are. So staying focused for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever sport it is you play, it becomes that little bit more difficult.
Yeah, and the other thing that you need to know as an athlete is we can only store, as in the human body, a certain amount of carbohydrates at one time. So for the rough average person, that's around 2,000 calories worth of carbs. So when you then go and exercise, you start to deplete those carbohydrate stores. So if you're on the ice for 60 to 90 minutes, you're starting to deplete those stores. You then need to keep them replenished and topped up.
So intra-workout carbs then. So between periods, you'd be looking to take on maybe a Lucozade or something that's got a bit of glucose in it, or?
Yeah, so any activity that you're doing under an hour, so under 60 minutes, you should have enough carbohydrates stored in your system at any which time that you can utilize. Anything over that, yes, that's when you want to start getting in your intra-workout carbohydrates. So like you say, any break that you have, get some in. The body can only uptake around up to a maximum of about 60 grams of carbs an hour.
Yeah, I thought it was between 30 and 60. Is that right?
Yeah. So any like energy bar or like Lucozade or something will be around that number.
Haribo.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Hey, if ever your coach is letting you go free with a bit of bit of carbs there, smashing a couple of Haribo between the period.
Absolutely.
I love that. Some of the like the old boys. This was back before I knew anything about nutrition. I used to turn up and fucking play and then drink beers afterwards. But before, and I'd be like, oh, why are you eating them in between the periods? And it was for this reason.
Yeah, and like I always used to see, like when I was younger, like the tennis players would always have, like the professionals at Wimbledon would have like a coloured drink, a coloured bit of water that they were taking in. I was always like, what the hell is that? But it's carbs. It's just like having a Lucozade.
It wasn't BCAAs then, no?
Yeah, absolutely not.
No?
Don't even start me.
I feel like I could just pick you apart and just get you to fucking go mad about everything.
You're gonna make me sweat in a minute. Some passion.
Love it. Right, let's move on then. So going away from the diet side of things for a minute. Obviously, we've been in this pandemic for like 18 months now. And we've touched on people that are overweight. We've seen people that have been obese, and those with underlying health conditions really, really struggle. Those with low immune systems really struggle to not only fight this virus, in some cases to beat it at all. It's killing people, obviously. What would your advice be, and food advice be, to help your immune system, help be better built for this?
Yeah. So we've obviously seen, well, most people have probably seen in the news about the vitamin D. So if we're going to get specific, vitamin D, if you are deficient, don't be deficient. Get some
80% of Brits, maybe? Is it something stupid like that?
Oh, easily, yeah, easily. Because we just like the best source is from the sun, and we don't see the sun, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I think everyone in the UK at least should be taking a vitamin D supplement pretty much all year round. But in terms of overall nutrition, I like to say that I'm the one that will always give the unsexy advice. So in terms of nutrition, eating enough for your immune system, eating enough calories, eating enough protein, eating enough healthy fats, eating enough carbohydrates, maybe more importantly, eating enough fruit and veg so you can get all your vitamins, your minerals, your antioxidants, your phytochemicals, and staying hydrated, right? It's unsexy, but that's literally as far as it goes.
And the hydration's a key one that people, you feel like shit when you're dehydrated. So if you're then perhaps weak immune system, you're catching these bugs and viruses, you then get more dehydrated and you're just fighting a losing battle. It's just not a good place to be.
No, I would probably put hydration possibly up there as the first port of call for anyone. I mean, any client that I work with, the first thing we work on is hydration, because just like vitamin D, nobody drinks enough water. Nobody is hydrated. Well, not nobody, but most people that I work with are not. And you get so much bang for your buck from literally just being hydrated in terms of energy levels, in terms of regulating appetite, mood. Crazy times.
There'll be a few hangry people listening to this show right now. I can guarantee. I can guarantee it. Right, just away from the kind of nutritional ones. Have you been watching the Olympics at all?
I've been watching bits. I have to say, not as much as I would like.
Any favorite standout moments so far?
Do you know what? I forgot her name now, but the 13-year-old skateboarder.
Sky. We talked about her in yesterday's episode. She's amazing.
What the hell? 13 years old.
Yeah, I don't think you're still in that age where you don't care about falling off shit. You don't have to go to work on Monday, so you can just go for it. I see it. Try to teach adults how to ice skate versus trying to teach a kid how to ice skate.
Yeah,
it's so much easier to teach kids because they just go bang into the boards and they just get wait back up, off you go. Whereas adults that's not for me. I'm no good at that. I'm just going to give up.
Yeah, for me, it's the mental side of it. Like, she's like, how can you, under that much pressure, under that much, like, so many people watching you, it's just like, whatever, I'm all good. This is what I do.
And she's got a medal. She's got a medal, which is phenomenal. Good for her.
Yeah.
What have you seen any of the gymnastics at all?
I've seen bits, but again, not much.
It's just been different. These athletes are just different levels. I mean, you can see from their physiques, obviously they must be putting in so much fuel into that tank to be able to maintain that muscle mass while still being that lean. How would you feed an athlete like that? You're going to be giving them thousands of calories a day, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. There was, like, cyclists is a good example, because, like, well, anyone that's watched any of the Olympics of cycling, like the hills that they go up, the amount of time they're on the bike and stuff, they literally have to eat thousands and thousands of calories to even, like, so many cyclists in particular lose weight. Like, they can't help but lose weight during a, what do you call it?
A race.
Yeah, like Tour de France and stuff. They can't help but losing weight because they literally can't take that many calories on. Like, as much as it sounds nice sitting here being like, oh, I'd love to be able to eat more calories, it's actually hard to eat that many calories.
If you haven't seen it already, go type in like Eddie Hall's food for the day, or Michael Phelps is a good one. What actually eating 11 to 13,000 calories a day is like. It's a full-time job.
Oh, 100%.
It's a full-time job. Like, people, I hear girls moaning because they have to eat 1,500 calories. You got times that by 10, like, pretty much, to get in what these boys are doing. And obviously not now. Eddie's stripped down. He was going to do the boxing before he detached his bicep. You couldn't continue to eat the way he was, the world's strongest man. Otherwise, you'd be in your box. Like, you can't consume 13,000 calories a day forever. It's not sustainable. As much as we talk about, like, the low calorie thing not being sustainable, super high calorie things not sustainable either.
Hell no. Yeah, it's it's just like the extremes. Like the body is not designed to be that stressed. At the end of the day, you can't deal with that forever. You're just gonna end up in the box, as you say.
You would. Right, let's go back to the athletes quickly. So obviously we touched on diet quite a bit here, and for parents that have got junior athletes who have a shit diet, who they won't eat veg, or they'll eat one veg, like, or they don't like flavor, they don't like this, they won't eat that, they eating beige foods, eating quick foods, and not fulfilling their athletic potential because they're ultimately not fueled to be athletes. And secondary, like leading on to that, your thoughts on athletes perhaps drinking Monster and Red Bull and all that other type of stuff, especially the under 18s?
Yeah, in terms of getting young humans to eat better, I suppose is the word, I always say to parents is to get them involved in the cooking and the preparing of foods. So giving them, like, empowering them to have control over actually what they're doing. So yes, obviously, like, the education side of it is important, and getting your kid to understand, look, if you eat more fruit and veg, you're then not deficient in things like iron. If you're deficient in iron, you're going to find it harder to, skate around the ice rink you might be able to do it for 5 minutes, but what if you could do it for 10 minutes if you just eat another couple of portions of, a pepper a day or whatever. But I think it's getting them involved in what they're doing so that they understand what they're doing, but also they've got control over it. So I'm not saying it's going to change overnight and they're suddenly going to start eating, like, I don't know, lasagna with 10 different portions of fruit and veg.
Yeah.
But it's, even if you start with things like smoothies, so even just putting like a handful of spinach in a smoothie that tastes like maybe a milkshake that's got, milk, and I mean, there's nutrients in milk, right?
Yeah.
Making sure it's not green, so make sure it's a nice color that they like. And then, yeah, it's just working back, but giving them the power, I think, is one of the most important things for kids and nutrition.
Great advice. I saw James Smith's been having his say this week on the bodybuilding and competing world. It went down really kind of funny. The bodybuilders have came out up in arms. Essentially what he said is, other than the top 1 to 2% of bodybuilding people who it's their job and they've really mastered their craft, he's seeing a lot of eating disorders, mental health issues, body dysmorphia issues, and loads of kind of things about athletes who are competing. And now, since he's done that, athletes bodybuilding competitors have come out, not the 1 or 2% that he didn't slag off, but all the other ones that got a little bit butthurt. They've come out and basically fat shamed him, saying that who would get advice for him, your body looks like shit, loads of other stuff. What do you think of that? Obviously, from your side of it, being a nutritionist, obviously we know what dieting does to, like, the menstrual cycle in females. What's your kind of opinions on it?
I think it goes back to especially in the nutrition world, it's extreme. Like, it's always got to be black or white, where in actual fact, what we need to understand as a whole nation is that nutrition is grey. It's a grey area. It depends on so many things, what you do compared to what someone else does. Like, if you're dieting, what works for Sandra from accounts is not necessarily going to work for you, and it's like we discussed earlier, we go to the extremes in both ways. So we have to get out of the mindset of the all or nothing approach, and that's the problem. But especially the dieting world has created that, and that has an impact on bodybuilders. And it's, oh, you can't eat any carbs because this is going to happen, or you can only eat more calories on a day that you're training or the day that you're not. Like, why? Like, if you ask these people why they're saying that or why they're recommending that, they don't know. They won't know, because there's no science to back that. It's all their experience. Yes, for that particular one coach that's saying, okay, don't eat any carbs. Yeah, that might have worked for them, and it might have worked for them for years. Fair play. Hats off to them. But for 98% of the rest of the world, normal human beings, I would like to say, we don't want extremes. We just want to get up in the morning, eat our breakfast, eat our lunch, eat our dinner, have a few snacks, enjoy everything that we eat, have a happy life, do some training, go to bed, sleep well, get up, have moderate amount of stress, and that's it. Like, it's people get into things like, oh, bodybuilding because you think, oh, that's a really good look for me. That's what I want, but without knowing what actually that takes,
what you have to give up in order to get that one picture day that you've stepped on stage, you've done your photo shoot the next day. They don't look like that a week later. In fact, they look better a week later because they've started eating some fucking food again.
Yeah.
And they look like they're now walking around maybe 6 to 8% body fat, full, and they look phenomenal instead of trying to like shred right down. And don't get me wrong, the guys that know what they're doing and do it right and they do it the proper way, some of these athletes look phenomenal, but some are walking away from these competitions with eating disorders, like you say, because they're now alienated from carbohydrates and now alienated from their social circles, because you were bringing fucking broccoli and rice to Nando's when everybody was sitting smashing chicken. Nobody wants to hang out with you anymore. You're not a fun guy to be around. Like it's different. It's a different kind of mentality. But yeah, I think we should finish on a fun one, because I saw this on your Instagram as well, and I hadn't actually seen it. But the magnetic weight loss jaw clamp. What? I don't even know what to say, really.
I mean, I'm speechless too, but what I did put on my Instagram, so for those that don't know, and I don't even really want to explain it because no one needs to know this crap, but it's basically some magnetic thing that you put on your tooth that stops your jaw from opening, I guess at maybe particular times of the day or something. So you can stop eating so many calories and therefore apparently lose weight. I mean, again, we talk about extremes, right?
Oh my God. If you have to have your jaw mechanically shut to stop you eating food, you don't have a food issue. You have fucking issues that you need to go see someone about. They should never be that bad. And the thing that I thought was really funny about the article and the bit that I read, it said they switched into a liquid diet. But I could just put 3,000 calories in that liquid diet and they get fat with their jaw shut.
I know. It hurts, doesn't it?
It's just, you didn't even actually explain that. Yeah, okay, so you're going to lock their jaw up, we're going to give them a liquid diet, but we're going to still make sure they're in a deficit. Like, so, and that's the thing people don't realize. I could eat the healthiest diet in the world, but if I eat too many calories, I'm still going to gain body fat.
Yeah, again, like, we as a nation overcomplicate this stuff so much. Yeah. And there's just, you like, the magnetic jaw, you just can't even, like, you can't even put it into words, can you? Look, we're both basically speechless about it.
I'm stumped, and that doesn't happen. I think I think this is episode 124. I think it's stumped very often, but it's something someone wanted to talk to you about because it made me laugh. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we let you go?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered some good stuff today. I think, like, my overall message is we're on this planet to be alive, to be happy, feel healthy, and feel nourished and good about ourselves. So if you're someone that wants to reach out, wants a little bit of help or some advice, as we talked about at the start, follow me on Insta, send me a message. My DMs are always open. So please do reach out. But, you know, remember what you're here for on this planet, and it's not to eat carbohydrates. That's for sure.
Excellent. Steph, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.